Hey, it's Joseph here. Today we are talking about Revit 2020.1, which included a feature improvement to better import SketchUp files into Revit. And this opens up a lot of possibility of workflows between SketchUp and Revit. And because I work with Revit and SketchUp all the time, this is going to be a very useful feature for me. And also I wanted to present you a couple of tips so that you can better implement the workflow as well. Unfortunately, for previous versions such as Revit 2019 version did not have as good of an interoperability, so it was just kind of difficult to work with SketchUp and Revit at the same time. And somehow in 2020 things were somewhat improved. However, it still didn't take the newest version of 2019 on SketchUp side. However, with the 0.1 added, they decided to add this feature to take on 2019 version. Perhaps Autodesk is finally accepting the fact that they can't really beat SketchUp, they just have to work with it. I've seen a lot of struggles that Autodesk was trying to do with Format to fight against SketchUp. It didn't go so well, so it seems. So first of all, let's go ahead and see what the release note of Revit 2020.1 was like. So here on the Autodesk Revit blog post, there is a post titled as What's New in Revit 2020.1. And if you kind of scroll down, you'll see right here that says support for Trimble SketchUp 2019 file format link. Whilst this was quite a short note about the updated feature, the fact that it now supports 2019 version of SketchUp is a big thing because it has been parked at version 8 of SketchUp for a very long time. I think it was dating back to 2015 or maybe 14 even. So this additional feature on top of already better 2020 implementation means a lot more things. So with that aside, let me just present you this SketchUp file. It is fairly a simple model that I had made in school. Finally putting my school project to a good use. Everything is made as group and there's not much to it. So there's one piece there and then there's one piece there. I'm just gonna select everything and make it into one single group so that they are just all together. And if you were to look inside, you can kind of see there's an open inside. I'm just gonna undo and then save this out. So first I'm gonna go to File and Save As. I'm just gonna put it back to desktop. This is where I have loaded from. So I'm just gonna override it for the sake of showing you where it is being saved. And at the same time, I'm also going to go File, Save a Copy As, and change that to version 8. I need to back save it as a version 8 for it to work with Revit 2019 version. And then I'm just gonna say underscore link. So I'm gonna save it right there. And since SketchUp files are saved up, I'm gonna move on to the Revit side. So inside of Revit 2019.2, as you can see at the top here, I'm just gonna go to New, Architectural Template. And once the template is in, I'm gonna go to Insert, Link Add, and then go to Desktop. And from DWG, which is a default files of type, I'm gonna go to SketchUp Files, SKP, and I'm going to attempt bringing this original 2019 version of SketchUp file. Level 1, okay. And you'll see an error message saying cannot open that file. And then link file cannot be located, blah, blah, blah. And I have to close. So I'm gonna try the version 8 version, which I have saved out as a copy of that file. Same options, and level 1, open. And you'll notice that it has come in and it is very tiny. And the reason why it is so tiny is because I have shrunk down the entire model into about a foot by foot model so that I can actually make a physical model. And obviously I need to go back and change that so that it shows properly inside of my Revit now. So if I were to measure it, it is coming out to be about a foot, so it is correct. It just needs to be scaled differently. So I'm just going to delete that. Go back to SketchUp side. So I know for a fact that the stair is rising 6 inches, and then use tape measure tool and then click here. It is going to be 6 inches. enter. And then do I want to resize the model? Yes. So there is sort of the scaling trick of SketchUp. And once I do that, I can confirm by going here, measuring 6 inches. I'm reading at the bottom right hand corner of my screen 6 inches. So that's good. Now I just gotta save everything over. So save, and then I also need to do save a copy as and version 8 over the link file, save. And if I go back to the Revit model itself, I just need to update this. So normally I would go to manage and manage links and CAD formats, and then there's gonna be the link file. I'm just gonna click on reload and then click OK. And notice how it just kind of became a lot bigger. So notice it is sitting on the top right of the quadrant. The reason for that is because it is sitting on the top right of the origin, which is very much expected behavior. So I can go to 3D view mode, and then I can see everything inside of shaded mode. Everything's looking okay as sort of the gray model. And then if I go to realistic mode, everything is looking very dark. Everyone's wondering, well, what if I put some colors to the model? So I'm gonna go back to here, go to landscaping and vegetation, and pick this light green for the grass, and then just color over these areas so that they are as grass. And I don't really like this too light of green, so I'm just gonna make it slightly darker, and then just exclude this word of light. Grass green, which is good. And also I wanna have a little bit of stained concrete look, so I'm just gonna create a new material and then maybe go slightly orangier color, not as saturated, and then just apply that to this area here, the top surfaces where are sort of the slabs, and maybe those stairs as well. So these. So again, I'm just gonna hit save and also do a save a copy as, and then go back to Revit itself from the shaded mode. I'm gonna go to manage links, CAD formats, highlight that and reload. And once I do that, everything has come in just fine as colors inside of the shaded mode. However, if I go to realistic, everything is not quite right. So this is sort of the scene behavior of 2019 version. If I go here, all the materials that I have carried in from SketchUp side has come in as render material with some sort of color number next to it. So the grass material I have put down, it is coming in as 102.111, which is sort of the RGB value. And in order to make that into render material, I have to change this color here. And in order to transfer this color to the appearance section, other than memorizing these numbers, I usually can't. So if I just click on this one, and then if I just click on add, it will add that specific color to the custom color section. Okay that. If I go to appearance, just click on that again and select the added color, and then OK. And at that point, if I press apply, you'll see that it has applied there. And I'm gonna show you the layer side of it too. So if I go back to this model here, I have few layers, but none of the items inside has been assigned to here. So just to kind of populate the model further, I'm just gonna go bring, perhaps if I scroll down, I'm just gonna pick this one right here and then import onto this spot here, and then maybe copy one here and then scale that down so that it is sort of the smaller version, along with some rotation so that it looks slightly different. So there's a big tree back there, smaller tree. Let me bring a person as well, so someone who looks like kind of me in there too. And then I'm just gonna put down some additional walls around the model. So perhaps I can draw a rectangle here and then make it into a group, and I'm just gonna assign that wall as a wall layer, and then this person as a person or the people layer, and these two as the tree layer. And perhaps if I extend this slab out here, add a thickness, make it into a group again, I'm just gonna assign that as the floor layer, and maybe this one too inside. This one is a slab as well, so I'm just gonna assign that as floor. So there you go, inside of the group. And then just to kind of humor myself, I'm just gonna go into Endscape, asset library even, and then the library shows up. I'm just gonna pick some sort of vegetation maybe. So go into vegetation and then pick out this sort of shrubbery bush and then plunk it down onto this side and see what that's gonna look like inside of Revit. So assign them as trees as well. So those are all in, and then let me just go to Endscape and show you what that looks like on my Endscape screen. So there you go. You can also see the grass material that is being applied to here because it has included the keyword grass green, and it is taking that and also rendering things away because the shrubbery was the asset library that was coming in from Endscape side, and there's no material added for these slabs, so it is just appearing white. Just keep that in mind. Let me just kind of close out and save this version, save, and then save another copy as a link file. We always have to save it out as version 8. Save that there, yes. And once I do that, I'm just gonna go to Revit side, and then if I go to manage links, again CAD formats, and then reload. So once somebody has updated the file inside of SketchUp, you're gonna have to click reload and okay that. So notice how everything has come in. So the material that I have changed to green is again kept as it was. So if I go to the render material, you'll notice that it has been remaining the same for graphics and appearance as well. So that is remained the same. And if I go to level 1, it is coming up like this. Level 2, it is coming up exactly the same, and it really shouldn't be, because if I go to the west elevation, it is cutting in different plane, and this one I can just adjust it to 12 there, and then perhaps even copy more floors, 8 feet up and also another 8 feet up, and then go to view to populate those plans. So all of them should really look different, however it doesn't. The reason for that is because Revit, when it is imported as a CAD file, it doesn't really cut sections or even plans. I need to put them into a different method. So I need to click on this one, basically get rid of it. I am going to click on component and model in place. And for the sake of this demonstration purposes, I'm gonna put down generic models, okay. And then I'm just gonna say perhaps SketchUp. Link CAD, and there's not going to be any more luck by clicking on 2019 version, so I'm just going to click on this one, making sure it is level 1, open, and again it has come in just fine. And if I finish the model, it'll come in, and you'll see how it kind of goes blank, because when I see it, if you're cutting away from the level 1 somewhere up here, it's going to be blank. Level 3 and level 4. There's your tip there. If you are trying to bring in SketchUp model, make sure you put it inside of a family. You can generate a completely new family and then bring it in afterwards too. However, this way you can kind of coordinate where the coordination would be in terms of the axis. So this is a useful way to carry in your links that is coming from the SketchUp side. Okay, if I go to 3D, again, the materiality was kept. So if I go to manage materials, you'll see that the green has maintained as it was, okay, which is very good. And if I go to Endscape, unfortunately the bushes that we have put down inside of SketchUp, it did not really update there. So whilst the material has changed to green here, it is not showing up as grass, and the trees are textureless as well. However, there are some layers to play with. Shaded looks the best, so I'm just gonna keep it at there. And then if I go to VV to see imported categories, you'll be presented with a couple of options. If I put this on the side like so, I'm expecting if I uncheck this and then apply, the trees to go away. However, it doesn't. Show that again. If I go to people, it doesn't do anything. If I go to wall, Again, it doesn't do anything. And if you know a little bit of SketchUp, you'll know that layer 0 pretty much contains everything. If I go to SketchUp here, and then if I highlight everything, notice everything is contained layer 0. So that is sort of the standard or default layer of SketchUp, and everyone should kind of work that way. Everything inside is layer 0, and then this most outer group is dedicated as trees. So if I uncheck layer 0, apply, things do go away, but not all of them. For some odd reason, this person inside, or this wall even, if I go here, if I highlight everything, it is belonging to layer 0, but it is not going away. So that is very puzzling behavior of 2019 Revit there. However, there is some strange default layer. This does not exist inside of my SketchUp. If you look here, there's no default layer highlighted. I don't know what this does exactly, but again, it throws another curveball at you. So if I uncheck this one, apply, everything goes away. So can I mix up a few? Nothing happens in terms of hiding away. There you go. There's one floor that is going away. I don't know why. Just this is how it is with 2019. It just left me puzzled many times, and I couldn't figure this one out. So if somebody knows what that default layer, the bracket or parenthesis default layer does, please let me know. I have no idea why there's discrepancy between SketchUp layer versus Revit side. 2019 version was kind of like that, but not all hope is at loss. So if we go to 2020.1 version, this has drastically improved. So this is a version 2020.1. I'm just going to start a new project again. And just like how we have done it in 2019 version, we are going to go component, and then go to insert, link head, and if I go to desktop, I'm just gonna go to SketchUp file, and instead of this link file, which is a backsaved version to version 8 of SketchUp, I'm just gonna go to Carve House, which is a 2019 version. Make sure it is level 1, and everything will be coming in just fine. Imported geometry contains non-uniform scaling transformations. Although it has said that, notice how my tree has been scaled just fine. I think it is referring to when we are scaling to mirror things like flip along command or the mirror scaling command that we use inside of SketchUp. Those might be flipped depending on how you do it. However, just normal scaling will come in just fine in my experience. And because of that, I just need to finish my modeling, west view, and then make sure my elevation is true. It is not sitting on the center of the quadrant. Actually, let's try and fix that. If I go quickly back to SketchUp model here, I'm gonna move everything back to the center. So I can just snap on to this middle point, click on the origin. However, if I click on this midpoint, I can't really reference back to this axis here. Couple of tricks that you can do is hover over this point here and then just slowly move along, and then you'll be able to snap. Or another trick is to click on here, hit K, which is showing the back edges. At that point, even though you don't see it, you will still be able to click on that origin. So I can hold down shift key to lock in that place and then hover over where you think the origin would be. I'm gonna hover over there and then make sure I hit up arrow to snap onto blue axis only. I'm gonna turn it around 90 degrees. And then instead of back saving, I'm just gonna hit save, Control S. And once I go to Revit model itself, I'm gonna go to manage links. I have assigned shortcut of ML and formats, CAD formats, highlight this one, reload. And again, the same prompt, okay, and notice how it hasn't changed. And I believe this is a little bug that lives inside of 2020.1. So what I need to do is, if I double click on this one, as I go into the family, it just snaps back into place, finish the model, and everything updates just fine. There's a little bit of weirdness that lives inside of Revit there, but there it is. If I go to 3D view, I can spin around and then see my model just fine as I have expected. And if I go to shaded view, the colors are looking fine, with exception with this slab out here is looking slightly grayer than how we were seeing it in 2019 version. And then if we go to realistic version, those remain slightly lighter gray. and then everything else is a consistent color as the 2019 version. So there's a little bit of difference, and I'll tell you why that is happening. So first of all, if I just run Endscape to see if those things actually come in as a Endscape asset library, which will be fantastic if you guys are also the user of Endscape. So notice how everything is here. I'm going to change the shadow a little bit so that I can see the model a little bit better. Since I have oriented the model slightly differently, I can see it a lot better in this one here. And notice we are having some gray grass. It is because the material color is still gray. However, it had understood the word grass that is named for the material, which is a different behavior from the 2019 version. So if we go back to Revit itself, go to Manage, Materials, and this is where the difference is. So instead of coming in as a render material, which does not exist at this point, so in the R section, there's nothing here. 2020 version included this SKP filter. This did not exist inside of 2019 version. So if I go here, the SKP section did not exist. However, if I go back to 2020.1 version, there's SKP section, and all the materials that I'm using carried in with the same name along with those color for the graphics shading section. So if I go to grass green, which is a one that I made for grass, it is green in there. However, if I go to appearance section, nothing is happening because it's assigned as 80, 80, 80. And because of the name grass, it's gonna be grass. However, it's gonna be gray grass. So in order to fix that, I go here, the trick that we pulled before, add, to add that color in there. Okay, appearance, and then click here, and then take that color, and then okay. And as soon as I hit okay, it's gonna apply here. And if I jump back to Endscape, you will see that has been changed. So that is there, and the reason for all of these showing up as white, because I believe it is not assigned with any color whatsoever. However, if I go back to SketchUp itself, and let's say I decided to assign completely different color, so red color, bright red, so we can see it easily. And if I save that and then just save over, and we know it's not going to apply immediately. And as soon as I have double clicked it, notice all the colors just kind of went away again. If you see it in the shaded, everything looks exactly fine. But if I go to realistic, all the material has been overridden. Go back to finish model, manage materials, and if I go to SketchUp filter, notice the grass green that we worked on has been parked aside, and now it is just using grass green again, which is a different behavior to how it was in 2019 version. It respected all the changes I made to the model instead of creating a new one and putting aside what I have worked on. This is kind of strange. So if anyone from Autodesk or Revit listening to me, this is a weird behavior. In 2019 everything worked out fine, but this one it just kind of went the other way. Maybe perhaps just how you carry on project parameters from another file present users an option to whether override or merge together. And whilst they're working on that aspect, if any of you know a workflow to how to manage this easily in sort of native Revit way, and perhaps maybe even Dynamo workflow, I know there are a couple of paid plugins that allows you to manage the materials slightly easier, but I don't want to present my viewers the paid version of it. So if there's an option out there for me to do, I would love to share with other people as well. So with that understanding of materials, let's look at layer. So inside of imported categories, notice how there's sort of two different set that is going on. I don't exactly know why, but I'm just gonna look at this one here. So if I put aside, notice how that default brackets or parentheses layer is not there anymore, which is good because that was confusing me. If I uncheck layer 0, apply, everything goes away as I have expected. Everything comes back as I check it. And if I want all the trees to be gone, that goes away, which is very good. People gone, good. And maybe all the walls to be gone, okay, good. And perhaps the floor as well, good. So with this, I can just kind of go back, cancel. So I can assign that into a terrain layer, and then I can save that. If I go to Revit again, manage links, CAD formats, and then just reload that one again. And And at this point, I'm gonna see additional layer of terrain. So I can just turn that off, apply, and everything goes away. That is behaving just fine. And as I go here to level 3 perhaps, I want to attempt drawing some sort of wall. So here I can draw a 6-inch wall. So from here I can draw a wall here, and also from there to there, a wall that is filling up. And if I go to 3D, you can see how it is kind of too long. I'm gonna look at shaded mode and then highlight these two and perhaps change them to 16 feet perhaps, and that is still too long. So 15.5, so 15 and 6 inches. There you go. Instead of the wall, I'm just gonna change them to the curtain wall perhaps, or I can just get away with doing a shop front so I see some division in the glazing. Immediately I can start drawing on top of my SketchUp model, and then I can start replacing certain elements such as this wall out here. Instead of that one there, I can draw my own wall, maybe 12 inches from here, and instead of 20 feet, maybe 8 feet. I believe that is what I'm using. Apply, and then just draw that wall there. And then 3D, it is overlapping, so I want to get rid of that. If I VV and then go to imported categories, if I get rid of that wall, notice how that went away. So I can start to use my own set of walls instead of SketchUp as I replace them. And from what I can see, the layers do work really well. There are a couple of weird behavior that is going inside of the material or the reload feature when we do. So hopefully we see better implementation of this workflow as Revit versions up. And I can see a lot of potential and possibility of using this workflow between Revit and SketchUp. I can continue working inside of SketchUp and then expect I can just update as I go, with caveat of the materiality. So this deeper dive into 2020.1 was very useful for me. I'm gonna upgrade my Revit to this version immediately and start using it just because of this feature alone. So for those of you who's working for bigger offices, hopefully you'll be able to jump on this. Perhaps tell other people that you really need it because of this very feature 2019 SketchUp model being able to use inside of Revit. Maybe that will just kind of nudge your IT people up. So hopefully that was useful for you. If you have liked this content, please like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want to continue watching these type of videos. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.